Good morning, everyone. This presentation is to introduce the concept of air curtain effectiveness by making visible the invisible benefits that an air curtain can provide. Here is a brief agenda of what we're going to go through in this presentation. We're going to touch on some of the top level benefits an air curtain can provide and also go over where they are typically installed. And then we're going to dive into some of the primary benefits by going over some very brief background information and also to provide you some kind of visual aid to tell the story better. And lastly, we're going to finish off with some Q&A. Okay, here are some of the top level benefits. An air curtain will repel dirt and flying insects by forming a barrier across the opening. It'll also reduce the building heating and cooling costs by maintaining different temperature zones in your building. It also will protect perishable and sensitive products. It'll enhance or improve indoor air quality and also the safety of both customers and employees in your building. We have many different technologies that come with air curtain like UVC and HEPA filtration to improve the sanitation and the air quality inside your building as well. Therefore, air curtain brings a lot of benefits to the table to provide a total environmental control and also to enhance the hygiene in your area as well. Talking about an air curtain being very versatile for different types of applications. And now pass-through windows, customer entrances, and loading dock doors are some of the very popular installations. But an air curtain can also be used for many different types of openings and installations. In addition to installation itself, air curtains are also designed for different kinds of needs. We have unheated air curtains, electric heated, gas heated, and so on and so forth. We also have different types of specialty constructions that can suit pretty much every need that is out there. Can you go to the next slide? One of the most popular benefit of an air curtain is flying insect control. When an air curtain forms high pressure air across the opening and minimizes the number of flies from coming through your opening. This is very important in food service applications, but it can also be used in many different applications to improve hygiene. Next. Okay, air curtains really are a chemical-free and energy-efficient solution to minimize the flies from going through while letting people pass through the opening without any obstructions. There are two principles by which an air curtain can accomplish this goal. One is, of course, the air barrier. There is a wall of wind that is formed at the opening itself, which will prevent or disrupt the fly pattern when the flies are trying to pass through the opening. This is pretty popular when you are sizing up your air curtain. Pretty much almost always, this is what we see. We want to make sure that the air curtain is sized for that door height or installation height. But there is another important benefit, where an air curtain can also prevent flies from coming through, which is the vectorial effect. So you can orient the air curtain such that the airflow is pushed away from the opening in and disrupting the fly pattern and pushing the flies out of the opening itself. This can be accomplished by using the lures or the vanes that we provide in the air curtain, but we can also look at custom brackets that we have to orient the whole air curtain so that it blows away from the door. So these are some of the ways that the air curtain can help to minimize the flies from coming through. Next. There are a few guidelines and standards when it comes to fly control. USDA and FDA guidelines are very popular. They do all this status that you need to have an air curtain at entrances to prevent or minimize vermin from coming through your opening. But these guidelines don't really provide any kind of design criteria or airflow criteria. To my knowledge, NSF and ANSI 37 standards are one of the only guidelines or standards that are applicable in North America. These standards not only talk about the airflow requirements, but they also talk about other design criteria such as the type of material and coating that we have to use. The material should be wear resistant. It should be able to withstand the effect of food and some common cleaning agents. And from a design and construction standpoint, there are a whole bunch of criteria. Some of the most popular one, of course, are they should be, the hole sizes, and it should not be large enough to let vermin, birds, and other elements from coming into the air curtain. You should not be you should be able to clean the air curtain much easily, and also not allow a lot of dust and debris from collecting inside the air curtain. Lastly is the airflow performance. The NSF states different airflow requirement for different kind of applications, pass-through windows, customer service entrance, and service entry doors. We are one of the very few manufacturers who have an air curtain for all these three different types of openings. In fact, we have two different air curtain models for customer entry doors, and I don't think any other manufacturer out there has that kind of offering to comply with NSF. Next. Okay, so we've been asked, quite a few times to show if there is any kind of image or a video that we can show an air curtain stopping flies from going through. We have found it extremely difficult to get a photograph or a video, but what we do internally is we have this little remotely controlled quadcopters and toy helicopters to identify what's the best orientation for an air curtain to prevent these devices from going through the opening. And I thought it'll be interesting to show this to you. In the screen, if you see on the table on a red mat, there's a little toy helicopter. And we have it's remotely piloted. We try to pass this through the opening, and you can clearly see how it's going to be stopped by the air curtain. Can you play the video, Jasmine? There it is, and it falls down as soon as it hits the airstream. Can you play it again for those of who are not able to see that? There you go. Perfect. Again, if you are interested in getting this in this video, let us know, and we'll be glad to send it out. This is one of the few videos that we have. We have other ones too. Definitely, we'll be glad to send it out to you if it can benefit you in any way. Okay, next. Then another most important primary benefit is building temperature control. Yeah, can you go to the next slide? Okay, I'm not going to dive deep into this, but the air curtain works in using a principle called entrainment. In a nutshell, what it means is when you have a laminar flow of air, the air particles on both sides of the airstream will be directed to stay in their respective zones and prevent them from mixing with the outside air. Okay, for an air curtain to work, there are certain characteristics that the airflow should meet. It should be very laminar. You should have a uniform airflow across the discharge, and there are other technical criteria that an air curtain or the airflow should meet. That is one of the reasons why all air curtains are not similar. There are air curtains that are designed much better than the others and will be much more effective for your application. Next. We have done a lot of research when it comes to thermal separation. We have done CFD analysis, physical testing in the control laboratory settings, and also out in the field. Here are some of the images that I think is quite interesting and tells the story a little better. The image that you see on the top left side is of a CFD modeling of the vestibule that we have here in our factory. It's the main entrance. So the image on the left is the temperature profile in the vestibule when both the doors are open in winter. You can see that the cold air is entering the vestibule when the doors are open, and when you turn the air curtain off, that's the image on the right side with air curtain, which is labeled with air curtain on. You can see there's a clear difference between the two images, and the temperature in the vestibule is much better, much higher than what it is without. And the two images that you see on the right-hand side is actually the cooler that we had in our factory. We have thermal cameras that we used to take the image of the way the temperature profile is at the opening. Again, the image on the left side is you can see the pink color air on the bottom side. That's the cold air leaving the freezer. The cold air is heavier, it sinks to the floor and slowly migrates to the outside. And when you turn the air curtain on, you see that the pink color, which denotes the cold air, is kept inside the freezer. And this clearly shows visually how an air curtain can minimize the cold air from escaping the cooler. And the graph that you see on the left side is the same cooler. We had a bunch of temperature sensors inside the cooler to measure the average temperature of the cooler. The green line is the average temperature when the doors were open, and the blue line right below that is the average temperature when the air curtain was on. You can see that when the air curtain is on, the temperature rise inside the cooler is much lower than what it is when the air curtain is off. These are some of the metrics that we have used to optimize the air curtains for thermal separation. Can you go to the next slide, please? We also built this little chamber to study other benefits or other factors of an air curtain, things like what is the best airflow speed, should be the optimum orientation of the air curtain, and what point does the air curtain break down when you have a negative pressure, and so on and so forth. And I think this is a pretty interesting video. We want to show you. This has much more than what this video is going to show. On the left side of this box, we have some other fans to simulate negative pressure. But again, this video that you're going to see is under an ideal situation where you have balanced pressure, and the air curtain setup is ideal for thermal separation. Can you go ahead and play the video? We have a little smoke machine which blows smoke at the opening, and you can clearly see as soon as it comes close to the door, the air curtain stops the smoke right there. There is still some infiltration, but it's so less that you can't even see it. Okay, we have the similar image in many different setups. And if you guys are interested, please let us know, and we'll be glad to send this out to you. Can you go to the next slide? Okay, the next primary benefit is extending shelf life of perishable foods. Next slide, please. There are over 3,000 or 300,000 species of mold out there. While not all the mold is harmful to humans, but almost all the mold will definitely spoil your food. We have air curtains with different types of UV lamps and other technologies as well, which can eliminate this airborne mold spores. And that is one of the ways we can improve the shelf life. We have done extensive tests, again, in a laboratory setup inside our factory, and also in real life setup to see and identify how effective an air curtain with UV technologies are. Next slide, please. Okay, here we had an opportunity to work with a local restaurant chain called Bagel and Slice. The original goal was to test an air curtain effectiveness with the local power company, Edison, to see how effective the air curtains are. But that didn't pan out, so we expanded the scope to include air curtains with UV to test how effective the UV is to kill any spores inside the cooler. And the the petri dish that you see on the top are petri dishes in the cooler at 3 different locations, and they were tested with the UV on. And the 3 petri dishes at the bottom are the similar test, but with a UV off. Okay, you can clearly see the 3 petri dishes at the bottom showing much more mold growth within 7 days. When we had the UV on, even after 14 days of incubation, we barely saw any mold. We actually send this mold spores to an independent lab to identify what they are. They really were harmless mold, but definitely these are mold spores. Even though they are harmless, they will be spoiling your food. Can you go to the next slide? Here is a chamber that we built in our factory. Now we've been having some factory trainings. We show this to the folks who come for a training. If you're attending, you might recognize this. It is a controlled chamber. In fact, it has two chambers. One chamber having air current with UV, another chamber having air current with no UV. We have ACs on both sides. We have multiple temperature sensors, humidifiers and humidistats, particle devices that can measure particle sizes and ozone and all kind of instruments to measure and control both chambers. Okay, we have tried to see mold growth on many different type of fruits and vegetables and other items, but we found out, based on our experience, the strawberries are one of the most consistent material that can create mold. Can you go to the next slide? Okay, again, the top two images are the strawberries inside the chamber with UV on, and the bottom two are the same similar test, but with UV with no UV. You can clearly see within 4 days, the images on the bottom, the mold is clearly visible. And when the UV is on the other chamber, there is no mold growth on both the dishes that you can see here. Okay, can you go to the next slide? And here is another study in the same chamber. The top three images are with UV on, and the bottom three images are with UV off. Within 2 days, when you compare the dates from 904 to 906, you can see the bottom image, bottom center image, you can see some mold starting to grow on the strawberries. The strawberries get drier much quicker because the chamber is pretty small, but you can see them, even though the strawberries were getting dry, there was no mold growth when the UV was on. Even after 9 days, you can clearly see the strawberries are pretty desiccated. It's dried out, but there's significant mold growth on the chamber with no UV, while there was barely any mold growth on the chamber with UV. These images and also the studies that we found out in the restaurant in the cooler, it clearly tells that an air curtain is quite effective when you have the UV option. We are continuing these tests with different test parameters to replicate the test over and over again, and we will be sharing those results with you once we are ready. Next slide. The last primary benefit I want to talk about is improving indoor air quality. Indoor air quality doesn't really need an introduction, but here are a couple of images that drive home the point. The image on the left, smog and vehicular pollution, is actually Southern California, Los Angeles area. And this is pretty typical of how any area is in downtown where you have a lot of vehicles. The image on the right side is actually Washington, D.C. During wildfire smoke. Again, wildfire smoke is becoming more prevalent in North America, and this is an issue that is plaguing pretty much in entire northeast of the country. Next slide. An air curtain can prevent infiltration of the outside smoke in multiple ways. One is, of course, it's going to form a physical barrier, just like how it can prevent flies and coming through, or even outside air from coming through your conditioned space, is the same principle by which it stops the smoke from infiltrating. And we also have other technologies such as MERV-rated filters and HEPA filters to sanitize even any smoke that can be generated inside the building, or any smoke that comes into your building. Lastly, we have, in addition to UV, we also have ionizers, which can eradicate any kind of particles that come into your building as well. Okay, next. There are tons of publications out there dealing with how effective an air curtain is to minimize infiltration of smoke and dust from coming into your buildings. Can you click one more time? Here are a couple of Mars Air publications that we published a couple of years ago in both ASHRAE conference paper and also in AMCA in Motion magazine, dealing with this with how effective an air curtain is to prevent infiltration of smoke. I would encourage you to read it, or at least use these online links to tell the story. Next slide. This is an experiment that actually led to those publications. This is again the learning center in a factory. We used a haze machine to blow smoke into the learning center. We had a little prop fan which pushes the smoke into the door. We also have sensors with lasers to identify the particle size and also the concentration of smoke both inside and outside and under various different test conditions. We had the air current parameters were changed. We have an automatic door opener which can simulate high traffic, low traffic, and also whether the door is going to be completely open or partially open. We tried a whole bunch of parameters. Can you go to the next slide? Here are some of the results of the studies, and these are the similar studies that were published in those journals as well. If you can see, the two charts that we have is for low traffic when the doors are only open 25% of the time, and for high traffic, the bottom two images when the doors are open 50% of the time. I would encourage you to see only the two blue curves on the left side and the right side. You can clearly see that when the air curtain is on, which is actually the two graphs on the right side, that there is more than 50% reduction in the infiltration of the smoke into your building. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you have low or high traffic. The stoppage is quite similar. About 50% of the outside air is blocked from coming into your conditioned space. Now, bear in mind that this study was only to find out or determine how effective an air curtain is when it is installed over the door. If you have an air curtain with MERV filter or HEPA filter inside the building, it'll process even that 50% of the smoke that infiltrated into your building. It'll process that and trap that and improve reduce the concentration of smoke inside your building. Okay. Next slide. To summarize, I want to say that while flight control application and even thermal separation applications are quite well-established technologies, there are many other benefits an air curtain can bring in terms of sanitation, hygiene, and also to extend shelf life of perishable goods. So air curtain brings in many different benefits and can definitely help in controlling the environment in many different ways. With this, I end my presentation and I'm open to questions.
Naga, we've got a few questions. I'll start with this one. It says, for large walk-in freezer and or cooler, can the air curtain be placed inside the freezer?
See, from an effectiveness standpoint, it doesn't really matter whether you place it inside or outside the freezer. What I mean by the effectiveness is thermal separation. So transfer of hot and cold air from inside the freezer to the outside, that is going to be minimized. But for freezer applications mainly, there are other side issues that you have to consider. When you have an air curtain inside the freezer, it is almost guaranteed that it's going to form frost buildup on the floor and side racks. It's going to be a hazard for people going through the openings or even forklifts who are driving in and out. In addition to that, there's high probability for creating fogging at the entrance itself, which is going to be another issue for visibility. So because of these two issues, right, even though an air curtain can minimize energy loss, I almost always do not recommend installing an air curtain inside the freezer. For a cooler, it's a different story. Cooler is not as severe as a freezer, so you might be able to get away. You won't have frost buildup. But when it comes to freezer, I don't recommend installing inside the freezer. It's probably better to walk away from the job than having that issue. And if the customer has that issue and if they can reach out to us, there is nothing we can do at that point.
Okay, thank you, Naga. Next question is, are there considerations, impacts that we need to account for where the airflow from the air curtain hits the ground surface? Is there a big horizontal effect, or does the energy more or less dissipate?
Okay, so if you look at our submittal spec sheet, we have different mounting heights for fly control and thermal separation. The reason is because for fly control applications, you need a lot of airflow for that wall of wind effect. But for thermal separation, having that much airflow is actually counterproductive. Like like the question states, when you have a lot of airflow, when it hits the floor, air is going to split, and most of the air is going to come back to your building. But when it splits, you're going to create a lot of turbulence. Again, for entrainment to happen, you just need correct laminar airflow. Okay, and for that reason, we just need the right amount of airflow at the floor level. Ideally, it's about 300 to 400 feet per minute of airflow is what you need at the floor level. That is the reason why we can mount the same air curtain at a higher installation for thermal separation. And in fact, ASHRAE and the other building codes call for air curtains with 400 FPM of airflow at the floor level for ideal thermal separation. Just to reiterate something for the previous question about coolers and freezers, we have something called a cold storage survey form, which I strongly encourage your customers to fill in and send it to us. We will review it and recommend the best, not only the best air curtain, but also the best accessories for that air curtain to provide best separation.
Thank you, Naga. Next question is, in a walk-in cooler, the air curtain's placed inside on the door, vertically positioned. What should be the angle of airflow inside the walk-in or moving slightly outside?
It cannot be. I would slightly orient it towards the outside to begin with, but every situation is different. For a cooler or a freezer, the air actually escapes from the cold air escapes the cooler from the bottom half of the door. Okay, in my opinion, you can live with some amount of cold air escaping your cooler, but you don't want any of the hot air from the outside infiltrating into your cooler. That is probably because you'll have to spend a lot of energy cooling up that air, and also the outside air is going to bring in humidity and dust and other items into your cooler. So if that is your main criteria, orient it slightly like 5-10 degrees towards the outside. Okay, but for situations where you might have a compressor or something blowing right at the door, it's not an ideal situation, but for those kind of applications, you might want to orient the air slightly towards the inside. So there is no generic answer. It really depends on the application, but in an ideal setting, I would slightly point it towards the outside.
Thank you, Naga. In general, what is the lifespan of an air curtain?
Oh, the lifespan is unfortunately is like 25-30 years. We don't sell a lot of air curtains because of that. So that's one of the reasons why we give an extended warranty of our products. I have seen air curtains in operation for over 30 years with very, very minimal maintenance and service. Again, it really depends on the usage. If you have a small air curtain like a low pro, and if it is on 24/7, you're going to have issues like bearing going bad and things like that. But if the air curtain is used to turn on only when the door opens and closes, and if you have a good maintenance schedule, the air curtain is going to last forever for you.
All right, another one is question regarding temperature control or the thermostat. What is the purpose of the internal thermostat or remote temperature sensor? Is it to have a temperature set up to keep the air curtain to turn on when the room temperature is lower set point? If internal thermostat is specified, can the set point be set?
Okay, let me understand this question correctly. So I believe this is for some kind of heated air curtain, mostly an electric heated air curtain. I'm not sure what you mean by the internal thermostat, but if my response doesn't answer your question, feel free to reach out to me. The thermostat is there to let the air curtain know when to turn the heat on, just like the thermostat in your home. For the standard sequence of an air curtain is such that when the door opens, the fan comes on, and when the door is open, and if the thermostat is calling for heat, the heat comes on. Okay. If you don't have a thermostat, the heat is going to come on all the time, even in summer. So that's the point of having a thermostat, just to make sure you can turn the heat on cold days and to remove the wind chill of anyone walking through the door. Now you can have something called the heat on demand sequence where your thermostat will also make the air curtain behave like a space heater to provide supplemental heat during winter.
Thank you, Naga. Will an air curtain help prevent rodents like mice or rats from entering the building?
No, unfortunately, no. An air curtain will not help. Not only rodents and mice are pretty large to be stopped by the airflow from an air curtain. And any insect that walks on the floor right now, an air curtain cannot stop those bugs from coming into your door too. It can be effective only with flying insects. Again, that has to be taken with a pinch of salt. You can have a big bumblebee that's not going to be stopped by the air curtain, but smaller flies, it's not going to be 100%, but definitely it is going to minimize the number of flying insects coming through the opening.
The next question is, can you talk about the controller availability to connect to BMS? What points come with it?
Okay, we have different types of BMS and backnet options. In fact, we have published it on our website. I encourage you to go look at the under controls sections in the technical downloads. The standard or the most common BMS option that we have is just 24-volt low voltage signal. An air curtain sends out a low voltage signal for motor on-off control and another low voltage signal for heater on-off control. That's the basic BMS option that we offer. Beyond that, we have all kind of BMS options. It can be backnet, IP control, backnet MSTP control, giving you full control of the air curtain. What I mean by that is you can choose to just turn the fan on and off or heat on and off, or you can go full-fledged and control the complete sequence, like the fan speed, setting the set point temperature, and we can provide all that kind of options. But again, in our experience, that is quite rare. Most of the times, the request is only for on-off control.
When do you consider installing air curtains over the windows?
If it is going to be like a pass-through window or a window that's going to be open to the outside, and those are the windows that would require an air curtain. Again, you got to think about what is it that you want to solve. If you have a window that opens in winter and you just want some supplemental heat to people working around the window, then you need an electric heated air curtain. But if you have a window that you want to minimize vehicular smoke from coming into your building or flies from coming into your building, then you need an NSF certified air curtain. So we have all these options.
Thank you, Naga. Are all Mars air curtains vestibule exception rated or exemption?
A lot of our air curtain models are rated for vestibule exceptions. The Quiet Pro 8 and the Phantom 8 are the smallest air curtains that we have right now in our catalog for 7 to 8 feet installation. And if you have 10 to 12 feet installation, you can go with Standard 2 or Phantom 10, Phantom 12. And those are, in our experience, the sweet spot for vestibule exception. But we also have HV series and for 14 to 16 feet installation as well. We rarely see vestibules that require that kind of an air curtain. It's mostly for 8 feet to 12 feet installations, and we do have solutions for all those installation heights.
Next question. It's okay to install above the door on the outside of the freezer, correct?
The air curtain can be installed on the outside of the freezer, and I do not recommend installing inside the freezer.
Does the position of the curtains, horizontal or vertical, affect their efficiency?
No, they do not. It is only completely driven by the application. So if you, my preference would be to mount it horizontally over the door, because it's going to be out of the way. But if you have some kind of an obstruction, you can install it vertically on either side of the door as well. For longer doors, you can also consider installing vertically on both sides of the door. Really depends on something called the aspect ratio of the door, take into account the width of the door and the height of the door. If the height of the door is too tall, then you need to go with a really strong air curtain. You can look into that and see if you can go with a smaller air curtain series and mount it vertically on the side of the door. Just to reiterate on the last question about freezers, I did say that you can install air curtain outside the freezer. I just don't recommend installing an air curtain inside the freezer for the reasons I gave you that I stated before. I'm not sure if that came across correctly.
Do you have technical documents detailing mounting options / recommendations?
Mounting options / recommendation. I believe when you say about mounting option is using brackets and also for vertical mounting and so on, we have something called common installation documents. So if you go to any product series and just scroll down on the options, you will see two documents under common called common installation and common wiring. Click on the common installation document and it walks through different types of installations, different types of doors, different types of brackets, how you can use for pretty much all types of obstruction that you can see. I believe that's what you're asking about.
For thermal management and indoor is under slightly negative pressure, would you recommend higher velocity than 300 to 500 FPM feet per minute?
No, as long as you're getting 300, about 300 to 400 FPM at the floor level, you should be okay in terms of thermal separation. It doesn't matter if you have some slight negative, you might have to blow the air curtain. You might require slightly more powerful air curtain. So that you'll have about 400 FPM at the floor level. Again, in our experience and also the smoke chamber that we just showed you, when the negative pressure or the pressure imbalance is greater than 0.02 inches of water column, which is actually pretty low, the effectiveness of the air curtain drops down significantly. Okay, as long as you're within that tolerance limit, you should be okay with if you just go with the mounting heights listed on our submittal spec sheet. But if you have a pressure difference of higher than 0.02 inches of water column, then even blowing or upsizing the air curtains, and you're gonna have some issues in terms of separation. The best way is to solve the main cost for negative pressure.
And if I can just chime in here, sorry, this is Andy, another engineer. The same holds true for positive building pressure. Both negative pressure and positive pressure can impact the effectiveness of an air curtain.
Yeah, Andy.
Thank you, Andy. What power supply do we need?
For the air curtain, we have all different options, all the way from 120 volts to 575 volts or 600 volts, single phase, 3-phase, 50 hertz, 60 hertz. Or for all AC power that is there throughout the world, we have an option.
How long is the typical warranty and what does it cover? Does Mars perform the service or is it another provider?
Warranty again is listed on our product sheet itself. If I want to take a broad stroke, we give 5-year warranty on our air curtains all the way up to 14 feet installation. Air curtain that can be installed up to 14 feet, and 18 months warranty on our electric heated air curtains. I believe 1-year warranty on our controls, like door switches and control panel and so on and so forth. But definitely you can purchase extended warranty if you need. In my experience, you probably don't need it because they last forever. And what is the second part of the question, Steph? Stephanie, was it a 2-part question?
Yeah, it says, does Mars perform the service or is it another provider?
Okay, so we do not provide service in the sense that we don't have a service technician that can go out to the job site, but we do provide technical support on the phone. You can call us throughout the life of the product. You can call us for technical support. We are in California. We're in the West Coast time zone, so you can have your electrician or your end user call us, and we can provide technical support on the phone. but we don't have anyone who can physically go to the job site. No, we recommend or we depend on electricians or HVAC technicians who can go to the job site to fix the problem.
Thank you, Naga. I think I have just one more question here. It says, if the air curtains are installed outdoors, do they come with any protection against weather or other environmental factors?
All our unheated air curtains are rated for indoor and outdoor install, but there is a caveat for if it is going to be installed on the outdoors, it's only rated for mild weather. It's a very loose and generic term, but what mild weather really means is slight mist, indirect rain, and of course it can be exposed to snow or ice. So if an unheated air curtain is going to be installed outside, you need to either have an awning or an overhang to protect the air curtain from direct exposure. But I have seen if you're in areas like California where you barely see any rain, then I've seen air curtains mounted on the outside, and the occasional rain that you can see the air curtain can withstand. But we do have options like wash-down motors, stainless steel options, different kind of coatings. If you can have an awning or an overhang, those are options that you can explore. But when it comes to heated air curtains, they are only rated for mounting indoors. Even if you have an awning, you cannot mount heated air curtains outside.
That's all the questions that were submitted.
All right, great. If you guys think of any other questions, please feel free to email one of us and we'll be glad to take it.